Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and whatever else is watching. My name is Nick and in this video I want to discuss my thought about the newly presented Nintendo Switch. First off, I want to say this, as it gets the most anger at this moment. I did see the disclaimer at the end of the trailer, and I have experienced many hardware reveals from Nintendo, Sony and Microsoft before. I know not to pay much attention to game footage or to get too hyped up for it. That is why I never thought much of it when Nintendo showed footage of Mario, Splatoon, and with Skyrim I very much guessed that this was to make hype and no confirmation or whatever. Both Nintendo and Bethesda used the hype to bring attention to the Nintendo Switch and Bethesda's imminent release of Skyrim's HD remaster. Okay, with that being said, now on to the trailer and the hardware. Initially, when Nintendo announced the preview trailer, I thought that they would just show the name and then a date of when the hardware really would be shown. And if we were lucky, we get a glimpse or an outline of what the hardware would be. Instead, we got so much more, which positively surprised me. And yes, most rumors were true. The concept of the Nintendo Switch is that you can play video games on your TV at home. And when it comes time for you to travel, you can convert the main unit, which has a screen built in, into a portable game system. This concept actually speaks to my heart. I regularly travel to other places and spend the weekend there, which has the result that I hardly finish games, and I don't travel enough for me to finish my portable games either. So having a system that I can play a game on the TV and continue to play the same game and the same save file on the go is something that I am looking forward to. As for the controllers, I think that there are a lot of options. They are interesting to say the least. I have turned a WiiU gamepad and an Xbox One controller on their side to see whether the separate Joy-Con controllers would really make my hands cramp when they are used for two players split screen, as many on the internet would want you to believe. Although it was not the most comfortable thing to hold those game controllers in such a manner, I don't think they will cramp my hands when I play like that for a longer time. But then again, this also depends on how heavy the unit is and what its weight distribution is. I guess only time will tell. Well, at least until the Nintendo Switch is finally released. One concern I have with the Joy-Con controllers is the sturdiness of the connection to the main unit. The trailer shows that both pieces slide onto the main unit from above. This means that on the go the Nintendo Switch hangs from the Joy-Con controllers at what I assume will be the connectors that lock the parts in place. This puts a lot of stress on those connectors, and when the parts wear out from removing the Joy-Con controllers all the time, the connectors become less reliable and can break. Eventually it might result in the main unit sliding out between the controller parts and falling to the floor and breaking. Personally, I would have rather seen the controller parts being connected from below. The connectors would be able to keep the parts in place and the main unit could rest on the casing of the controllers. I will be most likely using the Switch Pro controller when playing on the TV and leave the Joy-Con controllers connected at all times, just so that I don't wear out the connectors. There is one small thing that I don't like about the controllers though. The system is dark grey in color with black buttons. I would have liked to see a bit more contrast between the buttons and the general casing. Actually, I had hoped Nintendo would bring back the different colors for the buttons that they used with the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube and even more recently with the new Nintendo 3DS. It's something personal, I think, it is easier recognizing colors instead of symbols when dealing with QuickTime events and tutorials. The trailer also confirmed that the Nintendo Switch uses cartridges. Nintendo has not given any specifications on the hardware yet, and I don't even know if they ever will. However, knowing Nintendo, I highly doubt these game cards will be the latest and greatest in flash storage technology. I think that in order to cut on costs, Nintendo will probably use a storage device that has the capacity and reading speed that is comparable or a little bit above a Blu-ray disc, which Sony and Microsoft are using. I am not sure about this, but what I'm trying to convey is that you should not get your hopes up too much with these game cards. As I said, that Nintendo has not confirmed anything on the hardware specifications, but Nvidia has released that the Nintendo Switch contains a custom Tegra chip for its GPU. This means that the system is based on an ARM architecture instead of a PowerPC architecture that the WiiU had. Developers should have an easier time developing for it, and those that have made games for tablets and smartphones in the past should be somewhat familiar with it as well. That is, when Nintendo doesn't use its own proprietary instruction set. And Nintendo loves to have things proprietary, which can screw over developers. On the side of power, I don't expect much either. Nintendo probably wants the Switch to have a competitive price, and considering that the main unit is not that much bigger than a tablet, or not bigger at all, I would not expect them to get the latest and greatest in technology just so that they can lower the cost of manufacturing. I expect the system may be at the same level or maybe somewhat more powerful than the WiiU. However, I don't think it will be comparable to the Xbox One or PlayStation 4. Again, do not expect too much from this, and only time will tell if the Nintendo Switch can actually compete. Rumors say that when docked, the Nintendo Switch is more powerful than it is in its portable mode. Some rumors attribute this to something extras in the dock. This is a rumor that I'm willing to believe. However, I don't think that this will be because of some extra components in the dock. Personally, I believe that the CPU and the GPU will lower the processing speed when they detect the lower finite power from the battery. Because when the Switch is docked, it can pretty much take infinite power from the wall socket, and the processors can run on full force. If they would run on full force on the battery, it would drain the battery a little bit too fast. That brings me to my next concern though, and that is the battery life. Rumors have it that a single charge lasts for about 3 hours. I think this stinks. Mainly because the least amount of travel time that I have is for about 4 hours. And yeah, that won't last a full charge. In addition, after a while the charge may become even less. I wonder how much the docking and undocking of the main unit will have an effect on that. And will I be able to swap out the battery of the main unit when it actually starts to, well, die out? The same goes for the little Joy-Con controllers, as they will have their own battery as well. At least I saw one person using them on a plane, separate and wireless. Also in the car, wireless. Unless the main module can teleport power over a short distance, I think, yeah, those Joy-Con controllers will have their own battery. So will I be able to swap them, or do I have to buy new Joy-Con controllers when also that battery starts to die? With the docking station, I also noticed it having two USB ports. Maybe the Nintendo Switch will also support an external drive to store downloaded games on. And if so, I do hope it works better than the Wii U. Because the Wii U is supposed to be able to work with an external storage of 1 or 2 terabyte in size. However, in my experience, anything over 64 gigabyte will be unstable. And if it doesn't even have its own power supply, then the Wii U cannot even bring enough power for it to read the data with enough stability. In the trailer there were 3 things that I actually missed. The first thing was touchscreen controls. However, rumors say that the main unit has a touchscreen that supports multi-touch, so I'm not too scared about that. The second thing was motion controls, because I actually really like motion controls. I love the Wii U, I love the Wii. It's one of my favorite systems, so I really hope that they make their way back to the Switch. And I do believe that they will. At least the Joy-Con controllers will have a gyro sensor and accelerometers. I don't know about the Pro controller, but that's because the game Just Dance 2017 has been confirmed for the Nintendo Switch, and that game relies heavily on motion controls. Well, it's either that or the Nintendo Switch can make a connection with a smartphone app. The last thing I missed was a camera. I think Nintendo did not add this in order to conserve battery power, because a camera can drain batteries very fast. However, even though they did not use it too much, there were a few games. They did not use it much on the 3DS. I do think that a camera does add a lot for some games, and that it can provide many games that support augmented reality. And I'm actually looking forward to that as well. I think losing the camera is a little bit of loss. So I hope Nintendo adds it as a somewhat extension that you can slide in between the Joy-Con controllers and the main module. However, I did not see it in the trailer, so I think it's not standard on the system. Finally, I want to talk a bit about all the third-party support that the Nintendo Switch is supposedly having. There seem to be some big names, or at least some big names on the list that Nintendo provided. And the addition of Skyrim in the game footage is what is getting people hyped. Even though Skyrim is not even confirmed, and Bethesda will probably not bring it to the Nintendo Switch at all, especially not without mod support, or from on the Nintendo Switch. They like to bring their mods as well. To me, the list reads more like developers that have gotten a dev kit. This does not automatically mean that they will also develop games for the Switch. I expect that most of them will first port some older games, as it will be low in cost and therefore less risky for, well, losing money on it. And the developers will just wait to see whether the Nintendo Switch sells well. If the system does not sell, then the developers will leave the dev kits collecting dust. So to repeat myself, don't get up too hyped, or I should say don't get too hyped up, because some third-party developers have dev kits but might not even use them. To conclude this video, I'm going to say that I will definitely be buying this system when it comes out. Even when that system comes out somewhere in June 2017 instead of March 2017, because frankly, to be honest, March 2017 is not a release date, and Nintendo is not beyond delaying a release to work out some final kinks, like the operating system, having a little bit of that, getting enough units shipped to stores, manufactured and everything. So, but it is in no doubt in my mind that I will be getting this system. When this system comes out, no matter what price, I will be buying it. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have your own thoughts about the Nintendo Switch. I like to hear them, so leave them in the comments below. And maybe I will see you again in another video. Until then, goodbye!